Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We got Jake Highfill, representative of District 39, Johnston, and the surrounding environs here with a super friend of the show at this point, which means that you get a membership card and a decoder ring, which Doc will get to you after the show. But you had a foreign policy tack that you wanted to take on this, but I wanted to point out two quick things that we learned yesterday. Very awful news: the Russian ambassador to Turkey assassinated in Ankara, and the terrorist attack in Berlin, the truck attack. The ambassador was shot by a Turkish policeman who was on security detail.
Yeah,
and then the truck attack, ISIS is taking credit for now.
I want to point this out, that it depended on who you read what the gunman said. And if you read AP, obviously Breitbart, the right-leaning ones, he screamed out Allahu Akbar and started shooting. If you read Huffington Post, New York Times, and something else, and I forgot which one it was, that was left-leaning, what he did is he opened fire and then started yelling, "Remember Aleppo, remember Syria." And the bottom line is if you ask people if you go read a foreign paper, which is where you need to get your news anymore because you can't rely on American media, what happened is he screamed Allahu Akbar, shot the ambassador, and screamed, "Remember Aleppo, remember Syria," and then plugged them 7 more times. That's out of the Kiev Post. That is out of Pravda. The English language version of Pravda, and also out of a German paper that I can't remember off the top of my head. So my point about this is when you hear about things like this, you have to be very careful who you read. The other thing that the the Slavic papers talked about is Europe needs to be prepared for other coordinated attacks. And within several hours, they had an attack on the Berlin market that they're talking about. So from my perspective, how come nobody's talking about what's going on over there, over here? Well, the truth of the matter is our media isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Go ahead.
I've seen a lot of coverage on the assassination and the Berlin attack. Not so much about the guy in Yemen that blew himself up in I
forgot about that one.
Yeah, in the line of soldiers.
So. All right. So we're gonna first of all, I want to present you with your decoder ring.
Oh, thank you.
Right there. That. Zoom in on that. That is a work of beauty. Right there. Look at that. You could if you ever had the gumption, you could stick a diamond right up there. Use a little super glue, it'll stick just fine.
It looks a little bit like an onion, Doc, which is fitting because you're complicated and you make people cry.
And there's many layers.
Yeah.
Plus, and a crusty old skin. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
You. What was your question on foreign policy? I'm curious now.
Yeah, this is what happens.
I'm getting to it. You said that both sides have not approached foreign policy in the right way. I want to know, one, what you mean by that, and number two, if you were president, what would you do? How would you approach this differently than the parties have at this point?
Well, that's a long question.
Well, we got 6 minutes.
Well, I'll give you a little synopsis. I think both parties pick winners and losers when they pick their trade. You have the steel workers in Pennsylvania. They'll put a high tariff on that so they don't drain, so they don't dump steel here. Well, then you also have the sugarcane in Florida. That tends to be Republican. That's northern half. So then they pick their buddies. Well, if we're going to have a policy, we need to have a policy that allows free trade. Otherwise, all we're going to do is pick winners and losers in the market. And I have a firm belief that when you don't isolate countries and you actually talk to them, for example, the UN is like kindergarten. We cannot talk to certain countries, so we actually go through different countries. They're in the same room as us. We could be able to talk. I have to talk to you, Doc. You tell Lefty I can't talk to him because I'm not mature enough to talk to another human being in the same room. And we expect foreign policy to get done because we boycotted them. And that is just not how things should be done in a global sense.
All right. Well, let me ask you a follow-up question. Do you believe America is better off using sanctions to get what they want, military action to get what they want, or barter and trade? Which of those?
Barter and trade.
All right. And why? Why do you think that?
The other two haven't worked. We got to try
fair enough.
We got to try something else.
We had George Bush invading Iraq to try to change something, and honest to God, it created a bigger mess. We have President Obama trying to drone everybody, and that's created a bigger mess. And the one thing that kills me that nobody has tried is, listen, if you want something, you want trade with us, want our markets, then these are the things you're going to have to institute. It's worked kind of sort of in Ukraine, right? They're actually moving forward. And for as corrupt as that system is, for the IMF to lay down, this is what we need to have happen. The Ukrainians really have moved quite quickly. I mean, it's been 3 years since the Maidan. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say they're on the up and up and there's no more corruption. I'm not saying that. But considering where Ukraine was 4 years ago compared to now, it really has been a fairly rapid movement.
I also say that if we do have to go to war, we have to go to war. Do we want to go to war? No one wants to go to war. I hate the beat the war drums before you get started. That should be a last resort, and that's when when our freedoms and our liberties are in jeopardy. Then I have no problem with that whatsoever. Okay. But if we are just sitting there nation building for 20 years in the country and paying for everything and then isolating them, we got to try a different policy. And we have 100-something military bases out there. I think there's something different we should try.
Yeah, well, I would agree. Now, Lefty has his
eyebrows.
So he's sitting there going to be coming back with something.
Well, then let's come back with something, I guess.
No. I meant you're going to come back with something. Have a comeback.
Well, no, I'm curious to know. I mean, on balance, yeah, we want to get along with everybody, and we want to do business with everybody. I remember a speech that I was at when I was in college that Bill Clinton gave at Carver Hawkeye that I was able to see in person, and he was talking about trade policy and making more friends, and you make more friends. I can't remember how I put it. You make more friends basically by making money than you do by bombing the crap out of them was the gist of it.
Yeah,
and you have a safer world when more people are friends than when you're in a standoff with like a USSR. But so let's take Iran for example, where we do not still have
got a minute
formal diplomatic relations with that country. We've opened up back channels for the first time since '79, but I think that you would get a lot of protest from a lot of different people from a lot of different political persuasions about us actually opening up and doing free business, like actually doing business and having American investment in Iran, primarily because that country can't ensure and doesn't want to ensure the safety and the integrity of American businesses. Does that sort of shading to that situation color your foreign policy? And I'm sure that we'll get to that answer. We'll give you the break to think about it.
Great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do with what we can't do anything without muffing it up tonight. Anyway, we couldn't do what we do without you. So we'll be back right after this break. Please stay tuned. Watch for our